Nick Gladfelter from the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability and Resiliency. Excuse me. Um, and I'm here to present a session for the Better Buildings Benchmarking Program. This is the sixth of 12 planned series. So if you'd like to come back and join at any time, you can always feel free to do so. Um, I have some um, Google Forms available on our website at resilientoahu.org/benchmarking. And you can always feel free to find the next training session there and sign up. So first, I'm going to go through our agenda. What is benchmarking all about? Why the program exists? Who needs to comply and when? And then next step, we'll go through some simple benchmarking data points and even a video from the ENERGYSTAR Portfolio Manager. And then after that, we'll talk about post benchmarking and the transparency map and the scorecards that are available. And then Sophia will give her spiel from Hawaii Energy on exactly how she can help you. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute Tran here because I do hear some background noise. Um, so moving on to the next slide here, just to explain a little bit about our office. I'll move this out of the way. We are an office of about 20 people here. It was voted on by the taxpayers in 2016 to create this office. And shortly after in 2017, the office was enabled. I know that Sophia even spent some time here in the office. Maybe 2019, 2018. But feel free to correct me, Sophia.
It is 2022 to 2023.
Oh, okay. I was a little early. I thought I thought you were a little earlier, but all good. We're happy to have your work that you completed here. But just a little more background. Our the responsibilities of our office is to track changes in climate change, science, and any potential impacts on the city facilities, as well as coordinating city policies and city action across city departments in order to enhance city preparedness. We're also developing resilient infrastructure to address all the effects of the climate change and um, integrating sustainable and environmental values into their city plans, programs, and policies. So in all of those work that I mentioned there, we have a few guiding documents. We have the Climate Ready Oahu, we have the Oahu Resiliency Strategy, the Annual Sustainability Report, and the One Climate Oahu plans. So each team, there's three teams here in the office. One's the energy team, one's the adaptation team, but each team publishes one of these documents. And I specifically work on the energy team, and that's why we bring you this training regards to the benchmarking program. I see a question in the chat. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Sophia, who also co-authored the Climate Ready Oahu with the adaptation team in 2022. All right, so just a little more background on the specifics of the benchmarking program here. Mayor Blangiardi signed it into ordinance, I believe in 2022, and it was under um, with heavy support from our partners at HECO, the Board of Water Supply, and Hawaii Gas. So the ordinance is 2217, and that means that buildings 25,000 square feet and up are required to benchmark their annual energy and water usage. And it's not just for commercial properties, it's also for multifamily housing and condominiums as well. Um, in addition to that, the city has started benchmarking their own buildings 10,000 square feet and up under Ordinance 2047. And that all that data that we've um, are benchmarking, which is basically like collecting data, um, goes back until I believe 2018 that we have um, utilities entered into the Portfolio Star Manager, which we're going to talk a little bit more about here coming up pretty soon. So this isn't something that we're just asking you to do. This is something that we're also doing ourselves and for our city office. All right. So like I mentioned, benchmarking is the process of collecting data. So basically, it's a lot easier to manage something if you have some baselines of data, which is, a monthly total for your Pico usage or your water usage or your Hawaii gas usage. So the the mantra that we have here is like you can't manage what you cannot measure. So the benchmarking is tracking and reporting energy and water use over time for a specific building. And then the once you've benchmarked your data, you would have to report your data to the city. So that's done through a platform called ENERGYSTAR Portfolio Manager. And once you've submitted your data to the city, then it would be made transparent to the public through another website that shows everyone's data. And basically, that's there just so that you can compare yourself to a similar building. If you're a condo built in the 70s, you can look at another condo built in the 70s and see where they're at and what they've done, what their energy use intensity is. And if you don't know what that is, we'll get to that here in the future as well. But basically, it's a tool so you can compare apples to apples and see where you're at compared to your peers and start asking some important questions about your building and if there are any opportunities to save energy or water in the future. So there's similar programs across the nation. Um, you can see the map here, which I'm not going to go through, but it's just a general idea of which cities have similar ordinances. Some are more strict than others, and as well as some states. Some of the benchmarking is required to be audited by a specific energy partner, or that be a engineer or an architect. They would have to verify that everything is accurate on the utilities report that you've submitted. Um, and then beyond that, there's some states that also have building performance standards where if there was a building that wasn't performing well, maybe they would have a specific amount of time before they had to clean up their energy or water usage before there was a penalty. So here's just some samples of some stories that we've seen across the nation. 5% down in Chicago with a big savings amount, and really that's coming off the overhead line. So that's something that your building could be using those dollars for other projects that could benefit your building in many different ways. Same for Minneapolis, Denver, San Francisco, and Seattle. Everyone on this list here has seen benefits from people just starting to benchmark their data and seeing their energy usage on a graph. Because over time, what Sophia is going to get into is like eventually there's a break even point where you can see savings and that these projects eventually pay for themselves after a certain amount of time. Next slide is our threshold here. So I mentioned that the city started benchmarking their facilities in spring of 2022, and then after that in 2023 we started benchmarking buildings 100,000 square feet and above, and then last year was the first reporting deadline for 2024 buildings 50,000 square feet above, and then this year is buildings reporting 25,000 square feet above. And it's kind of confusing the timeline here because this is actually the deadline um, for the previous reporting year. So 100,000 should be in their third year of reporting since they do so annually. Um, Buildings 50,000 square feet and up would be in their second year, and then this would be the first year for buildings 25,000 square feet and up. So the list of covered buildings expanded dramatically this year because there's so many buildings in that lower threshold. Generally, it's condominiums that are being added here in Honolulu, but um, that's good because that's going to mean that there's a lot more people asking better questions about their energy usage because ultimately our goal is to use less energy here in Honolulu and ask better questions about our energy usage in general. I'll break right there and stop and ask if there's anybody that has any questions before I move on. Nope. All right. So now we're getting into the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So just an overview, Energy Star Portfolio Manager is run by the EPA currently, and it's a government website and it's completely secure. It's been around for about 20-ish years, and it once you get on there, you'll notice because it looks like a 20-year-old website. But the point is it's not from my office or from the city and county in Honolulu. It's a government, it's a federal website, and it's a platform that is used across the nation in order to collect this data and give everyone a medium where they can compare. And also, we'll start talking about the Energy Star score that it provides here shortly. But first, we'll talk about the data that is collected on Energy Star Portfolio Manager. So obviously, the property address, the gross floor area is super important. The year built, as well as the occupancy rate. And um, some campuses have multiple buildings that they report under. And then the last but definitely the most important is the 12 consecutive months of energy data. So not on this list, but also important is the property type. So, you know, condos would be compared to condos and hospitals would be compared to hospitals because obviously they have very different energy usage needs. Sophia, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes. Sorry, thank you. I have one property that I'm currently working on. It's a high-rise condominium, but when
Mhm.
I looked under the property type, the options that's given under lodging and residential, and I'm not sure if I'm looking at the right section, would that fall under multifamily housing or the other lodging
Yes, it would
residential?
fall under multifamily housing.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Oh, and then I have a second question from the
Sure.
previous one. Um, if we end up missing, like to complete the benchmarking for one of our properties and it's the next year already, are we still able to do the benchmarking for that or?
Yes, and we encourage you to do so. We definitely want to collect information from prior years because this program's so new. We're really trying to raise awareness and encourage people to submit. The links are open for the prior years, and just feel free to email me to ask for those reporting links, and we'll go over that here shortly later in the presentation. But yes, absolutely. Short answer is please submit your data from prior years.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. So there's a few simple steps to benchmarking, and the first step is to gather the building and consumption data. So consumption data means your utility bills. So utilities here in Hawaii are HECO, Board of Water Supply, and Hawaii Gas. And that's the only things we count. You will see an area on Energy Star Portfolio Manager related to waste. However, that is not built into Ordinance 2217, and you do not need to report your waste. You can put that in Energy Star Portfolio Manager if you so choose, but it is optional and not required. So um, the building data is also super important, and that's a one-time setup that you'll go through. Which there's going to be a demo here in the middle part of the presentation. So that part, feel free to go ahead and open up your laptop and click along inside the Energy Start Portfolio Manager website. You will need to create a login and a password. So I encourage you to do so now before that part of the presentation goes. But this is being recorded and you can always refer back to it on YouTube at any time. So you create your portfolio manager account and then you add your property information and then you'll add your energy and water data. And then you will report your results to the city and analyze your results and monitor your progress. So basically, at the end of your submission, you're going to get an Energy Star score, which the formula is down here at the bottom of the slide. So that's your building characteristics plus your meter consumption will equal your Energy Star score. And you'll also hear the acronym EUI, which stands for Energy Use Intensity, which will be factored into your score as well based off the characteristics of your building. So a high score is good, and a low score is not so good. So just a heads up from the city perspective, we are absolutely interested in your usage and your water and your energy, but we are not the energy police. We are just here to ask you to report and so that you can start having better information related to your buildings and hopefully decide to do some energy saving projects in the future that would ultimately save yourself some dollars and some energy. So as a way to identify your building, we have an Oahu building ID. And the Oahu building ID is a unique ID related to your building. It looks like this. So it always starts with a 04QFJ. And then after that, it's a unique set of numbers. So basically, you're going to put this number inside of the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And then when you report it to the city, that's how we know that your building is in compliance and has reported for the year. So inside of our website on resilientoahu.org/benchmarking, we have a Better Buildings benchmarking search tool, and it looks like this. And I'll move this here, and you can click on this link once I send everyone the slides. But if you scroll down towards the bottom of this page, you'll find this search tool, and now the search tool has been expanded to include the orange squares representing buildings 25,000 square feet and above as well. So you will see some new colors on our benchmarking screen tool, but basically this is where you can find your Oahu building ID. Another place you can find it is in your mailer. If you received a mailer about 4 to 6 weeks ago, we sent out some mailers, and each of those included a unique Oahu building ID. So that went to owners and property managers or homeowners associations, whoever we could find the information related to the building for, as well as the building itself, if we couldn't find any specific information related to the building. So if you saw those from my office, that was myself and my boss. And basically you can use that information to get your Oahu building ID. And if you don't, you can find it on our website. But open to helping anybody find their Oahu building ID if they need help doing so. We also have a covered buildings list published on our website in Excel format where you can, just search for your building address or building name as well. So on to the utility side. Before I start on the utilities, I'll stop there and see if anybody has any questions. Nope. Okay. So this is before I start on the utilities, this is our website, and this is the Oahu building map that I mentioned. And this is where you can find your Oahu building ID. So if you click on this building up here, say this is your building, you can see there's a taxable square footage area, the name of the building, the address, and then the Oahu building ID is here at the top. So that's this number here that you would use to find that. Go ahead, Sophia.
This won't show the gross floor area, yeah?
It shows the taxable the taxable area, but the gross square footage area is slightly less usually. Um, uh, and I use the example for condominiums because the taxable area in the condominium is different than the gross footage square area because each owner of their unit would be responsible for the taxes in their area. So usually it's less than this number, but this is the number we have from real property, which is the city and county's website. So
Okay.
this number is a overestimate of your
Mm-hmm.
square footage. Yeah.
And
So go ahead.
sorry, will it change anything or will it affect anything if we end up using that number? Like, we input it on the gross per area section or no?
No, you could use this number. I would encourage you to try to find any as-built drawings for your building or the insurance documents because that's going to give you a more accurate representation of your gross floor area. But this number is okay to use.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, no problem. So back to our presentation here. The next slide is about the eco. So there's a number of ways to upload your data into Energy Star Portfolio Manager. Um, you can enter it manually, just by month, which normally would be about 13 rows. However, that would only be if you had 1 meter. If you had multiple meters, it would be a pain to try to enter all the meters inside of the Energy Star Portfolio Manager website. So what we have here is a tool and it's called Auto Utility Upload. So that's at this link here. And you can follow this link and create yourself a password or register an account. And once you get there, you can upload all of your building's aggregated data into the Energy Star Portfolio Manager website. Whoops. So basically, you would need to connect your ESPM account after you had made both an Energy Star Portfolio Manager account as well as a Auto Utility Upload account. I recommend you use the same username and same email affiliated with both accounts just to keep it simple. But after you had done that, you would enter your Oahu building ID, that same number that we just found here, into the auto utility upload. And I can give you a quick example here. So I'll search this building's address. I found it the Kaimana on 1520 Ward Avenue. I would hit add and then proceed with the instructions from there. I don't want to add this one because that's not my building, but it's pretty simple. Once you've added it, you will need to confirm that you are one of the utility holders from the account. So what that means is you would just need your 12-digit HECO number to verify that you are in fact the one of the account holders here. So that process is fairly simple. You can find the 12-digit HECO account number on your bill, and that makes it fairly easy to enter all of your utilities for HECO onto the Energy Star Portfolio Manager. At times, there are requirements for more than one owner, and if that's the case, you'll see some instructions here that'll say like second person required to verify, and then you would have to find that person, or I could help you find that person, and then we could get them to verify the HECO utility data on their side. So that's one way to do it is the auto utility upload. The second way to do it is just line by line. If you only had 1 meter to do it the manual data entry way, you could also upload a spreadsheet to the ENERGYSTAR Portfolio Manager, if that was your preferred method as well. But you would need to have the correct formatting for the spreadsheet in order to make it work and play nice. One common mistake that we frequently see is people will only enter half of January or half of December. So ENERGYSTAR Portfolio Manager is a smart website, and it knows that generally most utility bills are mid-month. So if it's a case that you're a January 15th bill date, then just go ahead and enter December 2023 or January 2025. So sometimes that means you'll have 14 entries for one reporting year, but do not be concerned about that at all, because the website will distinguish for the calendar year 2024. So HECO makes the reporting fairly simple with that auto utility upload tool. If you needed more information from HECO, you could always go to your utility bill, or you could always email Hawaiian Electric at bbb@hawaiianelectric.com, or visit their website, hawaiianelectric.com/betterbuildingsbenchmarking. And there you can find more information regarding the program. Generally, HECO has pretty good resources and response time, so they usually respond within 3 to 5 business days. Any questions on the HECO side? All right, moving on to Hawaii Gas. So Hawaii Gas, you would need to get the information from your bill or Hawaii Gas at this email address here, bbb@hawaiigas.com, or visit their website, hawaiigas.com for business/better buildings benchmarking. Because we don't have the same tool for the auto utility upload for Hawaii Gas, because generally there aren't multiple accounts, and I bite my tongue when I say that, because there can be multiple accounts, but generally there's not more than a couple for each property, like there is for the HECO side. So that HECO tool is really a luxury that we splurged on, and this Hawaii Gas side is more like a manual upload. So you can either enter it line by line straight from your gas bill, or you can enter it into a spreadsheet and then upload it to the ENERGYSTAR Portfolio Manager website. Last utility is Board of Water Supply, and I vote their bill the easiest to use because they have a nice little table here that gives you a 12-month look back with the date and the usage by thousands of gallons specific to your meter at your building. So same deal goes here. They have a customer service at hbws.org if you ever have any questions or need any additional information, as well as a website to visit here, boardofwatersupply.com/betterbuildingsbenchmarking. Board of Water Supply also has this Water Smart program where you can log in and specifically see your bill online. So that is another tool you can use if you already use the Water Smart program. I just said a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions on any of the utilities or the program in general? All right. So once you, oh, I see a question in the chat. Oh, thanks, Dane. So once you've got all of your utilities entered, you would want to report your data to the city. So on our website, we have a reporting link, and it's in this new accordion that somebody put together inside of our office. So this is how the website looks. And it's in this step number 5, submit your data submit your report to the city. So you would click on this link here, and it would take you to your Energy Star Portfolio Manager account where you could submit your report to the city for your specific building. So again, all of the information is listed inside of the website here. We have some step-by-step guides, detailed step-by-step guides, 5-step step-by guides, frequently asked questions that I attached that one-pager PDF to this meeting invite. We have trainings regularly that you can feel free to attend again, and then there's also the Energy Star Portfolio Manager trainings that you can always watch as well. We also have a help desk that is available. You can always email them here at which after you submit your report, you will usually hear from them because they have some follow-up questions. First of all, you'll get a email verifying that you have submitted a report and we have received it. But generally they have some questions like does your building have gas if they didn't see a gas meter, or it could be anything really related to the specifics of your building. There's also the how-to guide here for the auto utility upload. If you wanted to step through that, I think this is a 5-pager here that details everything you need to step through the auto utility upload. But basically, after you verified your account, you just need to sync your property. And then you would go to Energy Star Portfolio Manager and it would already be uploaded your utility data. All right, going back to our slide deck here, you would follow this link that would take you to Energy Star Portfolio Manager. You would go to that link would lead you to this page where you would report your selected properties, which you basically just have to select the property that you entered because like Sophia, some people have multiple properties, so they could have a dozen or more in here, but you can submit one by one. So after you've selected your property, then you would select Generate Response Preview inside of Energy Star Portfolio Manager, and that would take you to this page where you would select this drop down that says Send Data, and then you would just have to e-sign with your username and your login credentials. So you would select this checkbox, your credentials, and then this blue button, and then hit Send Data, and then that would be your submission. Like I mentioned before, the help desk will send you a confirmation email confirming that they have received your request. But sometimes there are some discrepancies or some follow-up questions like I mentioned, does your building have gas? Or sometimes there's not a full calendar year of data for 2024, or maybe you forgot to enter your Oahu building ID. But since you went to this training, then it should be fairly straightforward. All right, so now I'm gonna share a recording of the EPA. So this is somebody walking through their this is a person from the EPA, and they're walking you through the Energy Star Portfolio Manager and setting up your building for the first time. So I don't think I shared my audio, and I need to do so. So give me 1 second.
My name is Charlotte Aiken. I am with the Cadmus Group, which is an environmental consultancy, but we are the main support contractor for the EPA Energy Star program. So a lot of my work is focused on Portfolio Manager and all the different Energy Star resources. So today I will be going through Portfolio Manager 101, which takes a look at navigating Portfolio Manager, adding a new property, and entering use details. Looks like my slide got cut off a little bit, but we'll also look at how to add energy data and then how to kind of navigate the reporting tab, which I'll preview of. Yeah, and feel free to stop me at any point. I'm happy to answer questions along the way. All right, so today we will demonstrate the core functionality of Portfolio Manager, like I mentioned. You will learn all of the essential how-to information you need to get up and running with Portfolio Manager, so you can start tracking your building's energy, water, and waste and materials performance. So Portfolio Manager is often used as a management tool that is usually just a piece of a much broader strategic plan to reduce consumption and costs. But Portfolio Manager specifically is used to compare, measure, and track consumption over time, set baselines, goals, and targets, and generate metrics that reveal underperforming properties. Then, based on this whole building perspective, building managers can begin to make investment decisions about conservation and efficiency and track the impact of these strategies in Portfolio Manager after they're implemented. It's a free online secure tool, and there's lots of regularly updated trainings and lots of resources for you online, because I know it can seem a little daunting. So Portfolio Manager offers users more than 300 metrics to assess performance. Among them are energy consumption, water consumption, greenhouse gas emissions, and the 1 to 100 ENERGY STAR score, which we will go into in more detail, but this is just a quick overview. So what do we mean by benchmarking? Benchmarking is the process of comparing use to gain valuable perspective about building performance. So Portfolio Manager offers several ways to compare energy, water, and waste. For all three, you can use Portfolio Manager to establish a baseline, and then the baseline comprises 12 complete calendar months of data and is a starting point against which to compare future consumption. So as the building is operated, we can compare newer data to the baseline period in order to understand how consumption and costs change over time. Let's see. So here's a quick overview of the ENERGY STAR score. So it's one kind of simple number that ties in a lot of background information that's pretty digestible and understandable. But essentially, the ENERGY STAR score compares your building to buildings of similar size, type, and it's even somewhat location-based. So it's a great way to kind of analyze how your building performs compared to similar buildings.
Poly mailers are a great way to package your products. And with Sticker Mule, ordering custom poly mailers has...
So almost all, but not all buildings can receive an ENERGY STAR score. This page is a quick snapshot of all of the different property types that are eligible. Eligibility is essentially just based on the available data that's out there, because a lot of data does have to go into the back end to determine kind of where your building falls. But these properties are all eligible for ENERGY STAR scores, and you'll notice a couple have an asterisk, meaning that those are not eligible for ENERGY STAR certification, which is a recognition for buildings that have a 75 and above ENERGY STAR score. So now I think we'll discuss a little bit about multi-use properties, which I know is a common issue, a common flag, because sometimes it's not as simple as just saying my whole building is an office, and that would be very easy, but it's not always the case. It's not uncommon for a property to have multiple property types, and a multi-use property can still receive the ENERGY STAR score and receive certification, but there are two conditions that apply. So the first being 75% of the property's gross floor area must be comprised of a property type that is eligible for a score, so one of the property types listed on the previous slide. And two, more than 50% of the gross floor area must be comprised of one eligible property type, excluding parking. So for example, building 1 on the slide depicts a property that is 60% office and 40% warehouse. This space is eligible for a score and certification because both property types are eligible for a score, and because the office is more than 50% of the total gross floor area. In building 2, even though the office is more than 50% of the gross floor area, this building is ineligible for the score because it doesn't meet the 75% minimum requirement. In other words, 40% of the space is comprised of a laboratory, which is an ineligible property type. So to create an initial record in Portfolio Manager, I know we touched on this a little bit, so this will be a quick slide, but all you need really are the items listed under number 1 on the slide, the property's primary function, its name, address, and postal code, the year built, and the gross floor area. With those metrics, you can establish an initial account for the property, but more will go into it to really make the most out of the tool. So if you are interested in generating an ENERGY STAR score or required, you will also need the property use details. So the details in Portfolio Manager are considered to be the main drivers of energy use in buildings. So like we were saying about occupancy earlier, entering the building details really gives Portfolio Manager an understanding of how this building is used. And these details do change slightly based on property type. So, you know, a hospital isn't going to be operated the same way as an office, and Portfolio Manager knows that. So there are prompted questions as you create a property that ask property detail information that will correspond with the property type. So lastly, you'll need consumption data for the resources you're interested in tracking. So to generate metrics, you'll need at least 12 months of data, which sometimes turns out to be 13 bills if they are mid-month. And this is because all metrics in Portfolio Manager are annualized. So it needs at least that much data to create different metrics like EUI and ENERGY STAR score. So for energy and water, this information typically comes from utility bills, which I know we talked about before, about how you can gather that information. Yeah, and I guess if you're interested in reporting waste and materials, I know that's not a requirement, but that information can also come from a measurement of your like a dumpster on site, or a measurement from the company that would typically pick that up. So that's kind of an optional voluntary metric if you'd like to report that as well. All right, so now we will begin just a quick demo of navigating Portfolio Manager, and then we'll move on from there. So to create an account, this is a login on the ENERGY STAR website, which is pretty simple, fortunately, URL. So you'll go there and create a username and password and follow the prompts on the screen, which are pretty simple. Just ask for your name, an email address, I think maybe your company affiliation, and not much else. So it's pretty simple to create an account. And then once you're in Portfolio Manager, navigation is fortunately pretty intuitive. So it uses a tab structure that makes it easy to find your way around the tool. There are 4 tabs at the portfolio level and 7 tabs at the property level. So portfolio wide, you'll see there's My Portfolio, Sharing, Reporting, and Recognition. And then once you're within a property, there's the Summary tab, Details, Energy, Water, Waste Materials, Goals, and Design. So today we'll really focus in on the Summary, Details, and Energy tabs at the property level, as well as the Reporting tab at the portfolio level. So the portfolio level tabs are listed across the top of the screen. This is the My Portfolio page here, which loads with a list of all of your properties, a customizable chart on the left-hand side, a menu of useful items to manage your portfolio, and notifications. So these can be requests to connect with other users, notices that someone accepted a property that you shared, or a range of others. That is up here, the notifications page. There are also sometimes separate notifications from the ENERGY STAR team, such as if a new metric is going to be added to the tool, or if there's any other updates. And then of course the help page is very useful. There's lots of FAQs and trainings there, so I highly recommend visiting the help page. So then this is the property level view once you select a property from the My Portfolio tab. So with each of these tabs, you can navigate between a summary of the property details, and then meter data. You can also set and track progress against specific performance goals on the Goals tab and compare a building's current energy performance against its initial design. But clicking Portfolio Manager, the logo in the top left corner, will always take you back to that main My Portfolio page. All right, now we will discuss adding a property and entering use details. So to add a property, you'll click the Add a Property button in the top left-hand corner of the My Portfolio tab, which will then take you to an initial page asking for the property type, the number of buildings, and the construction status. So under property type, you'll see a drop-down of tons of different types. I'd suggest picking the one that is the overall type, the majority type, if you are in a multi-property type. So there is opportunity to add additional property types later on in the tool, but for this first step, I would choose the one that takes up the largest square footage of your building. Then you'll select the number of buildings that are part of your property. So in most cases, this will be one. In some cases, you'll select more than one if your property is part of a campus. And then finally, you'll select the construction status, which is also typically existing. Sometimes you can enter a design project if you'd like to kind of track usage from that very early stage. And then finally, you can create test properties to kind of play around with the tool, see what happens when you raise and lower usage values. But the test property feature is really just so that property doesn't get grouped under any reporting requirement. All right, so on the next page, after you answer those initial details, you will enter general information, including the property address, the size, the occupancy, the year built, any irrigated area. So there are a couple different ways of measuring gross floor area, but in Portfolio Manager, it is the total property floor area measured from the principal exterior surfaces of the building. So we discussed this a little bit before. There is also a link to gross floor area if you click on details on what to include. But yeah, we're looking for the interior square footage of the building. Irrigated area is not a required field. It is used in calculating the water score, but I say not required just because it is not asterisk here, so you can come back in and add that later. Let's see, so occupancy is, like we said before, the percentage of your property's gross floor area that is occupied and operational on average. So for example, if you have a 10-story office building that on average has 9 of its 10 floors fully leased and occupied, the occupancy would be 90%. So if there are people working in all floors or all areas of the building, then it would be 100% occupied. But there is only one occupancy rate for each property, so this should really be an average. This value is not used in calculating the ENERGY STAR score. However, there are minimum occupancy requirements for ENERGY STAR certification. And it's a great metric for you to have entered in your building, just so you can track that over time. So this page also has a section for standard IDs, which I know we discussed a little bit earlier. So this is where you will enter your building's standard ID using this dropdown. I would confirm that it's either going to be under city, town, or county district. But in the dropdown, you will see it listed, kind of the category that you're looking for. And then on the right-hand side in this box, you'll enter in the ID number. Yeah, and then it will be recorded as recorded. So that's great. And then finally on this page, there are a couple more prompts about parking consumption, data centers, retail stores, restaurants or cafeterias. This is really just to get a better picture of your property and how it uses energy. So for all property types, there will be this question about parking areas. So if your parking areas are separately metered from the building, you do not need to check this box. However, it is very common that parking areas and buildings share a meter, especially if a parking area just has some lighting or you know, it's beneath the building, like we were saying before. So if this is the case that they do share a meter, check this box. And on the next screen, Portfolio Manager will prompt you to enter some more information about parking, like we discussed earlier. All right. So next, you'll be asked to provide some more details about your primary property type. And like I said before, each has slightly different use details. But as you kind of hover over these blue property use details, there will be a definition in a pop-up box. And you can also click on them to take you to the Portfolio Manager glossary if you ever have questions about exactly what it's asking. But this page is where you will confirm your property's gross floor area. This GFA value, like I said, it should encompass the whole building, including any hallways, stairwells, lobbies, or maintenance areas. If you're in the middle of benchmarking and you realize that you do not have any certain pieces of information in front of you, you can always use default or temporary values over here on the right. However, to ensure the accuracy of your metrics, and if you're interested in applying for ENERGY STAR certification, you'll have to go back and update those default values with actual information. You can also use the drop down, which I'm thinking, oh, it's up here, all the way at the very top of the screen. The add another type of use drop down to add additional use types if they are not already included in Portfolio Manager's definition of your primary property type. So like some of the examples we were looking at before, if your building is partly an office and partly a laboratory, you'll want to add whichever one you did not select initially so that both are covered. Oh, sorry. Yeah, and then at the bottom of this page, you'll just want to click add property once you've added all of these different details. So now you've created the property, you've entered the address, the property use details, and there is a profile created for it in Portfolio Manager. So this is the summary tab. You'll see there's no graph, there's no metrics. That's because we haven't added data yet. So that is the next step. We'll navigate to the energy tab to create some initial energy meters. Let's see. Yeah, so like I said, there's different charts on this page that are customizable that will populate with data once we enter that. You do need 12 full months of data to receive the ENERGY STAR score column here. And you'll see up here, this property is not currently eligible for ENERGY STAR certification because no data has been added yet. But those will populate after we go in and add meters and data. All right. So yeah, I just added this in here just in case there were any of you that had campuses that you're trying to benchmark. I know this is often a question about how to benchmark a campus. Campuses in Portfolio Manager are entered as a single parent property with multiple child buildings. This allows you to report on metrics at the campus level while still being able to track performance of the individual buildings that make up this campus. This assumes that you have the necessary building level energy, water, and waste materials data though. So for properties with multiple buildings, Only a handful are eligible for an ENERGY STAR score at the campus level, those being hotels, hospitals, K through 12 schools, multifamily housing, and senior care communities. And if you are benchmarking a campus, you will select more than one property back on that set up a property page, and you'll enter the number of buildings on your campus. Once you define the campus as the main property, there's a little bit of flexibility as to how you benchmark it. You can either benchmark the campus in aggregate, benchmark the individually metered buildings on the campus, or both, but just being sure that you are not double counting any meters if you do choose to benchmark both.
The great thing about the Google Career Certificate is no experience is necessary. We are teaching you literally the foundation.
All right, and now we will move on to entering energy data. So back in the property record, there are property level tabs. We'll be working in the energy tab to create energy meters and add some data in different methods. So on the energy tab, you'll see at the left, there is a meter summary. We do not have any meters yet, so that is blank. To add a meter, you'll click add a meter in the upper right-hand corner of this page and follow the prompts to enter energy meters and then consumption data. So on the getting started setting up meters page, you'll be prompted to identify all the sources of energy consumed at the property, as well as the number of meters for each fuel source. Make sure to include every fuel consumed. So in many buildings, this is just electricity and natural gas. But sometimes your building receives fuel oil, diesel. There's lots of options here. So we just ask that you make sure when you're filling out this page that you consider all fuel types consumed at your property. For electricity, for example, you will be asked to indicate whether the energy was purchased from the grid or generated on-site via solar or wind power. So there are capabilities in Portfolio Manager for benchmarking solar power and other renewable energy sources. So those are definitely newer to the tool, and there's lots of fun metrics being added. I think some even coming out this year. So you can be on the lookout for that. So on the About Your Meters page, you can click anywhere in the table to add data about your meters. To enter units, which is very important, select the accurate unit from the drop-down menu. So for this, you'll want to compare that with your utility bill to make sure that the units that you're representing in Portfolio Manager are the units that your usage is reported to you in. I say it's very important because if you enter the wrong unit, you might get a very skewed ENERGY STAR score, either very low or very high. So just be sure that the units are correct. The date meter became active can be the date that the building was built. But sometimes, the building was built 50 years ago and you don't have 50 years of data. So in that case, we just suggest that the date the meter became active is the date of the oldest bill that you have for your building. Because we know it's not realistic to enter 50 years of utility data in here. And it's oftentimes not even accessible to the building owner. So yeah, it can be the first day of the first bill that you have, or even the first date of the 12-month period that you'll be benchmarking. The date the meter became inactive, you can typically leave that blank. You'll only need to enter a date there if you want to note that a meter has been decommissioned. If you do receive fuel and it's delivered in bulk, then you'll check the Enter as Delivery box at the right. And you can also add additional meters from this page. So if on the previous page you had selected you only had one electric meter, you can create an additional meter if you perhaps forgot one. So then you'll click Create Meters, and that will take you to the next page where we can begin adding data. So on this page, you'll see each meter that was created with a little drop down. all of the meters that you created will be presented on this page. So this allows you to add data to multiple meters at the same time without having to click back and forth. So to add data, there are three main ways that it can be entered to your property or to your entire portfolio. The most basic approach is to enter data manually, which can be tedious, but it is the most straightforward. You just enter the usage, enter the time period that it was used for 12 or sometimes 13 months for 1 year. Another way is to upload data using spreadsheet templates to enter one building or multiple buildings, use details about the building or buildings, and then meter consumption. So all of those different key points can be uploaded using spreadsheet uploads. I will say this is slightly a more challenging method just because the formatting in the spreadsheet does have to be pretty particular. But you'll note, I think maybe it was, oops, I haven't gotten to that slide yet. So on the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but you can click this spreadsheet template link to download a template and then populate it there. So you have the correct formatting. And then the third way is to work with a third-party provider or your utility that can exchange data directly with Portfolio Manager via web services. So now we'll talk about entering consumption data. So you'll start by filling in this first field with the start date, the end date, and the usage for that time period. Cost is optional, but it can be helpful to monitor cost over time to just see, I'm paying a lot more than I was a year ago. So that's really for your benefit if you'd like to see if that's changed over time, but that is not required for earning any metrics in Portfolio Manager. So let's see. Yeah, so an estimation that is similar to entering a default value or checking a default value box on the property setup page. So you can use an estimation whenever you make an estimation. For example, if you haven't received your bill yet, but you want to estimate how your building might perform in the next month. But if the value you're entering comes directly from your utility bill, you do not need to check the estimation box, even though sometimes utility bills are marked this way when they contain small estimates based on how the utility read your meter. But that should really only be checked if this is an estimate that you're making. To generate accurate metrics, enter at least 12 consecutive months of data for all fuel types consumed in the building. So to do that, you'll click this add another entry box or link. It'll add another line here, and you'll populate 12 or sometimes 13 for a full year of data. And like I said before, another option is to use the spreadsheet upload link to upload consumption data, which is available here, the spreadsheet template. Once you download that, it's a pretty simple spreadsheet. There are only 5 columns. I believe it's the start date, the end date, the usage, and then the cost. I'm blanking on the last one. It might be whether or not if it's an estimation, but it looks pretty similar to this table here, just in an Excel format. And once you have filled in the necessary data, you just upload it right back here. So you'll click choose file and then click upload and it'll populate this table. It is helpful. It saves a little bit of time, especially if you already have your data saved in an Excel spreadsheet. I will say if it's not already in Excel, you'll be typing into a spreadsheet similarly to how you'd be typing here. So it's only a real time saver if you already have it saved that way. But that is an option if you prefer to upload data that way. And then once you have uploaded a full calendar year worth of data, you'll click Save Bills at the bottom. That will take you to the next page where you'll be prompted to state that the meters that you've created account for the total energy consumption for the building. So it's important for a portfolio manager to understand which meter should be applied to the total property energy consumption. Sometimes you have a meter that is not in use, or like I said, like it was an option on a previous page, you could state that a meter is inactive, so that one you wouldn't want to include for energy metrics either. So when you're done, you'll click Apply Selections, the bottom right. So now your meters are set up, and you will see a little green box at the top indicating that all of your energy meters have been created and data has been added. This page is really just a summary of the energy meters that are set up for the building. And then you can go back and access them at any time by clicking on the different meter names here, if you want to go back and add a bill or revise one. So it's all pretty simple and easy to access. So a little bit more about using spreadsheet uploads. To use spreadsheet uploads, you'll select upload and or update multiple properties. There's a couple different ways to get to this. So back on the meter page, there was that link at the bottom that I pointed out. You can also click on this at the side of the Manage Portfolio tab. There's a button that says Upload and or Update Multiple Properties. This is a little bit more complicated, but you can essentially upload data for multiple meters at once, or even multiple properties at once. So I'd like to say this is for portfolio manager experts. It's definitely can be a challenging method, but it is quite fast if you do have to populate data for multiple buildings. I won't spend too much time on this, but if you do have more questions, I'm happy to go into more detail about this method. And then finally, the third option for entering data is to utilize the services of ENERGYSTAR partners that are set up to exchange data directly with Portfolio Manager via web services. So this will likely be an energy service company or your utility. Web services provide the advantage of avoiding manual entry, so you won't have to go in and type in each usage value. The third-party service provider or utility does that for you automatically. To use web services, it's necessary to connect and share with your provider, which you can do from the sharing tab by selecting Set Up Web Services or Data Exchange. I believe the name of that button has changed very slightly, but it's still that middle button there. That's how you'll set up web services connection. That's discussed a little bit more in Portfolio Manager 201, which I won't go into today, but that is available to you on the ENERGYSTAR website. I'm happy to put a link in the chat after the Portfolio Manager demo.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video right there. The web services that the speaker mentioned at the last part is the auto utility upload that I showed earlier on in the presentation. So the auto utility upload would be taken care of like once you entered all your credentials, and as long as your username and email matched, then you wouldn't have a problem connecting the two after you verified the accounts. So with that, I'm gonna move on to my last few slides inside of the presentation and then hand it off to Sophia, who's gonna talk a little more about the next steps after benchmarking. So basically, after you benchmark for 2024 in Q1 2025, you're gonna get a energy performance scorecard, and it's gonna show you your energy use intensity compared to your peers on a national average. So basically, you're going to see a chart here and where you're at compared to your peers for both energy and the water side. And then after that, the information is posted on the building transparency map. I don't see that slide here. I apologize for that. But you can always get to that information on our website, which is updated daily. So if you submit your information, you would see your information on the building transparency map posted. So that can be located on our website, resilientoahu.org/benchmarking. And this is how it looks as it stands today. So green dot means submittal received, red dot means not yet. So you can slice it and dice up this data based off your property types or the year. This is last year, and then this is our first year of 2023. So we have more dots because the threshold was lowered, and now we have more buildings. But you won't see your building on here as submitted under your specific building use type until you have submitted your benchmarking report for the first time. So that's a little bit about the transparency map. This slide here goes into detail about all the different support online that the EPA has, in addition to the training that we just shown. I'll also share this link. Anybody can feel free to follow up with me after if they have any lingering questions or any things outstanding they want to follow up on. But there's tons of resources out there with lots of help. So like I said, help is available if you need out there for benchmarking. I'm always willing to meet with anybody and sit with them and walk through. I have something scheduled for tomorrow to do the same. We can do so in person or we can do so online or whatever you so choose. We also have the help desk that I mentioned where you can email them and ask them any specific questions at any time if you so feel inclined. We also have this help desk email you can reach out to at any time that will go directly to the energy program and get the questions over there that you need answered. So last item here, and this is a good transition over to Hawaii Energy, but basically Hawaii Energy has a filter for benchmarking services on their website. If you decide that that you don't have enough resources or time to do so, you can use Hawaii Energy's website. You would say that you're located on Oahu, that you have a business, and you're looking for utility benchmarking and search for a vendor to do so there. So this is a quick filter guide if you need help finding that information. So that's it for my side for today. I'm gonna hand it off over to Sophia, and she's gonna tell you about some next steps after benchmarking. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Sophia.
All right, thank you. Just looking to share my screen right now. Should take me just a moment. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Nick. Yeah, I remember that first presentation. And I will just start off by saying that, corralling all of your energy use and your water use data is essentially the hard part, and the rest of it's pretty easy. And there's tons of support and resources for you in every step of the way. And that's what Hawaii Energy is. We are a resource to you after you have benchmarked and you've got all information on your building. We say that if you can measure it, you can manage it, and you can improve it then. So you'll have a lot of control once you get this information and not only how much energy you're using, but how much money you're spending. So our entire mission at Hawaii Energy is to empower businesses and families here in the islands to make smart energy choices, reduce their overhead costs, build a more resilient future for our keiki, and go green, essentially. And some stats here is that, most people don't realize how much the commercial sector uses, but we consume about half of the electricity that's produced. And, that means that we have a lot of opportunity to help reduce demand on the grid. And efficiency is just, getting the same result with the standard equipment, but using less energy to do that. So it makes a lot of sense. And to that point, we have awarded, this is stats from like 2023 too. So we are revamping our numbers right now from our most recent program year audit. But I would imagine this is going to be upwards towards 10 million at the very least awarded to businesses for energy efficiency upgrades in the last year. And then, you know, somewhere around 12 million in electricity bill savings over the first year. And so, yeah, that's just a little bit of background. But now that you've benchmarked, you've got your scorecard, like what do you do? And the first thing we encourage people to do is to look at your scorecard. You know, give us a call. We can help you review it. Get on that transparency map and see where you fall in the rankings. But we also encourage to do this as a team within your organization because it's more fun to do it with other people and you have less of the burden on yourself to do all this like work, you know, getting somebody involved from your facilities management side, your financing side, your any non-technical staff that you can think of who's expressed interest in sustainability, bring them on board and let's find a manageable way to do this together as a team. We are here for you as energy advisors. We have an advisor for each sector, meaning I'm commercial, office, and retail. We have multifamily, we have industrial, we have cold food storage, hotels, uh, Department of Defense, you know, government buildings. So we have advisors spanning all different sectors who can be your ally in this process. And we even do walkthroughs, so free walkthroughs. We do not even have a mechanism to invoice you, but we'll come down with our engineers to your facility and we'll just do a observation of, you know, your internal and your external building systems. And we can say like, oh, with our naked eye, we notice that you have fluorescence in this space. You might want to consider converting to LEDs or, hey, we see that those transformers are really old. You know, how old are they? We can help, you know, you develop a mechanical equipment list if you don't have one, but we are a free resource to you. Okay. So we just encourage you to engage with us when you get your scorecard and we can help you develop any goals you might have in order to reduce energy and reduce costs. So we are here. And just down below, you'll see a list of some of our most popular EUI reduction measures. So you're looking at improving lighting, HVAC performance, adding in controls, yeah, water heating and pumps. So we've got a lot of rebate options and energy efficiency potential that we can discuss with you. So you already saw this example, but I'm just going to go over it again really quick for this little section down at the bottom next to our Hawaii Energy logo. There, it says 15% right here. Now, what we're looking at is, okay, you've got your site energy use intensity. This building's interesting because it is a it is right on par with the average use type. So it is amongst its peers, uses an average amount, like it falls right in the median. So it's, and honestly, don't think of this as a good or a bad. It's just a fact-finding mission. It's just understanding like what we use. There is no, there's no shame at this process if you find out that your building uses a little bit more energy than you would like. It's really just figuring out where you are so you can, you know, plan for increased rate hikes or you can facilitate your budget around that. But what I'd like to point out with this 15% down below is it basically just says if you're committed to improving your building's performance by 15%, then this is the savings that you could have in dollars. So for a building that has a gross floor area of 140,000 square feet, it was built in 2011. I've actually done two pretty significant projects with this particular example. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but we've anonymized it. So I'm very interested to see what it will be the next 2 years. but they could save $35,000 by implementing a 15% energy efficiency target. And I'm very curious to see with these two projects what we were able to do, and if that number came to fruition. I think it did, but more to be determined. And then here's just another example with another commercial retail store. This one has slightly higher gross floor area. It was built in 2009. And this one has a average use type of 138. Which is actually kind of around the median as well. It's just high. It just uses a lot. And this one, I did a brand new LED lighting retrofit for it. We gave them about 90 grand for that lighting project. It was a lot. It was huge. So I would imagine they're going to reduce their usage by 15%, thus not only saving, you know, the $90,000 in the rebate that we gave, but an additional 68,000. And they also have cold storage, so that's why it's really high too. That's why we want to put the use type in. This one has commercial grocery, even though we had to label it as retail. So it may look bad, but it's not a traditional retail store. It also has cold storage for food. All right, so there are lots of things that you can do today to get the ball rolling for understanding more about where your building's at and what type of conservation measures you can take. I've kind of talked about the walkthrough a bit, but again, they are free. We just, schedule them about 2 weeks out so we can make sure an engineer and an advisor are available to go out to your facility together and identify easy wins, big wins that they could do, what potential rebates we could offer for said projects. And we provide a spreadsheet called an opportunity register to you. If you are looking to do something a little bit more intense, you could look at like a ASHRAE level 2 or level 3 audit, which I'll go into here in a minute. But some common measures that we see for commercial office and retail are adding in controls, just having the lights be turned off automatically instead of manually. You wouldn't believe that just having some like behavioral changes or adding in these controls so you're not reliant on the behaviors of the people in the office, it really has a big deal, or it makes a big deal when you're looking at like drops in the bucket. But we look at air conditionings, what type of ACs do you use? Is your building a big, tall skyscraper that has an air-cooled or a water-cooled chiller? Okay, Dane, thank you, no problem. I can also disseminate my PowerPoint to you guys if you need in PDF format. So yeah, we look at your AC, we'll check out your lighting, we'll look at your plug loads, any type of appliances. We always encourage ENERGY STAR appliances for any type of refrigeration or water cooler or, anything related to plug loads. Yeah, vending machine misers. And this is just, an example of what some controls can look like, whether it's a digital interface or oh, I forgot the name of these ones. They're a little bit more outdated, but they work just the same. Analog. Okay, so these right here, I'm gonna go over the ASHRAE level 2 and ASHRAE level 3 audits, and then retro commissioning. So a level 2 and a level 3 audit by ASHRAE, and if you're not sure what ASHRAE stands for, it's the American Society of Refrigeration and Engineers. And we offer, based on the level 2 or level 3 audit, either 5 cents per square foot or 10 cents per square foot, up to $15,000, capped at 75% of the audit cost, or $25,000, capped at 75% of the audit costs. And we will provide an additional 15% extra on a rebate should you pursue an energy efficiency project within 2 years of that audit report being completed. And if you're wondering what the difference is between the level 2 and the level 3, a level 2 audit is basically more in depth than our walkthroughs that we provide for free. They give you, clearly defined mechanical schedules for what systems are operating, and they provide you energy efficiency measures that you can take to optimize. And a ASHRAE level 3 audit is even more in depth on that. It provides you um, detailed steps. So this is a really great place to start if you literally have no idea what your building uses. These are really great options, and we incentivize them heavily. But we also offer tons of other services. So besides the audits and retro commissionings, we do a lot of pumps and motors. We can do rebates for EV charging stations, adding in sub-meterings for multifamily or condos, solar hot water heaters. We do a lot of new construction builds, but because 80% of the buildings that are existing today will be around 80 years from now, we need to focus on optimizing what's currently in existence and that was built, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and even earlier, just because, a lot of that equipment gets replaced with the equipment that they used back in the day, because they're comfortable with that equipment. However, a lot of those pieces to those systems aren't really being made today. So if you can go with newer technology, improve your efficiency, you're not only, getting a better, more current product, but you're protecting your investment from obsolescence. And if you want more information on that, I'd be happy to speak with you outside of this meeting and we can dive deeper into that. But we offer tons of rebates. And lighting, I'm just going to highlight right now, is really important because we have a state lighting ban on fluorescents. It's been in the works for the past 3 years, and they just officially started the phase out of the ban. So screw in and bayonet style fluorescents, you will no longer be able to purchase those. And therefore, since LEDs are now the standard, we cannot incentivize those any longer. They did it in 2 phases though. So the pin-based and the tube lighting is still available until January 1st of 2026. So we can still do lighting for now. And then we're kind of playing it by ear based on things moving forward. So if you have a lighting project or if you still have fluorescents, like, now is the time. I'm dead serious. It is the time to make that investment if you are still working with metal halide, exterior lights, fluorescent interiors, high pressure sodium exterior lights. Just let me know if you have any questions around lighting, okay? And, sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming. I think, when we think of like, oh man, I've never done this Energy Star Portfolio Manager account before. Where do I begin? Right? It can feel overwhelming. But just like with all the resources and all the steps that Nick just went through, it's kind of the same thing with us. We're ratepayer funded. It's your businesses and homeowners that buy into this energy efficiency program. So every HECO ratepayer pays a very tiny percentage of their monthly HECO bill towards this energy efficiency program. It's called the Public Benefits Fund. And we manage that big pool money, and it's our job to redistribute it out to ratepayers, those who invest in it. So if you're doing these projects, I mean, it's like leaving money on the table if you're not getting that money back. So the best thing I can do is just to have you, just to empower you to contact us when you have any type of like lighting, HVAC, building envelope project on the horizon, and we can let you know if that project qualifies, and if it doesn't, what the pieces that are missing are, so that way you can, consider those if you want a rebate. And if you want to build more efficiency into your building's performance. So first things first, check in with us, verify that the equipment is eligible for our rebate. Then you just got to install the equipment. After that, we get the application compiled with the account information, the W-9 for the account holder, and then we need invoice, spec sheets, a certification, and then yeah, if there's like a post inspection that's needed, great. But if not, just that and the incentive worksheet. It's like 5 documents total. It can feel daunting at first, but we're here to walk you through the entire process step by step. And then once the application's submitted, it only takes about 6 to 8 weeks for the check to be mailed to the location of your choice. And right here, I've just added a couple of examples of case studies that we've done. So this right here is for a condominium that installed electric submeters for 558 units, 588 units. And they used a third-party vendor. It's important to note that the building does not have a centralized AC system, but it did have a common area, swimming pool, and shared laundry. But that project cost was $662,000. We were able to incentivize 88,000. So, oh, and then the first year cost avoidance that they didn't pay in electricity costs was 80 grand. So it had a payback period. This is what Nick was talking about, where there's usually a point where like you break even with the project and then you start to profit. That was 7.5 years. So yeah, it resulted in about 12% reduction in the building's energy use. And we love to see payback periods anywhere, around the 3 to 5 year mark. So like that's still a really good return, but it is a little high. But I mean, out of a $662,000 project, are you going to say, no, I don't want that $88,000? Like, no, you want that. That's like somebody's salary for a year, right? So here's another example of a hotel that did a retro commissioning, which is basically just, doing a couple of tweaks to their building management system and seeing if they can optimize their space without doing a lot of heavy investments for capital improvement projects. They're just taking what they currently have and they're fine tuning it to see if they can improve the performance. And so that cost this company $56,000. We were able to incentivize just under half of that, $27,000. And then their first year cost avoidance was 18 grand. So that had a payback period of a year and a half. So, and one thing I love about this type of work is that HECO, if you tell them that you're running tests on your facility for energy efficiency measures, like to see if what you're doing will improve your performance. And let's just say for whatever reason it doesn't, but you notify them first, you're engaging with them, then they won't penalize you for trying to run these tests. They want to work with you. So I always really like that. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Sophia, I think it just might be you. But if you have,
No, not at this time. Yeah, thank you so much.
yeah, no problem. I mean, we love to hear from people. We're happy to talk about scorecards. We're happy to schedule a free walkthrough. If you're having any questions, during a project with any of our paperwork, we'll walk you through it. But mostly my job is to educate people that, one, we exist. If you're a HECO ratepayer, then this money belongs to you. And we just have some stipulations as far as the efficiency. So if it meets our efficiency requirements, then you're eligible for the rebate. But I generally like to look at the rebate as like the cherry on the sundae. The real like lifetime savings, the first year savings that you get from the cost avoidance, that's like the scoops of ice cream, right? And And now I'm hungry. But thank you so much for, attending today's webinar. Nick, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
And I'll do my best to get you that PDF of the presentation by tomorrow afternoon so you can distribute out to the attendees.
Sounds great. Thank you, Sophia, for your presentation here, and thank you to the other Sophia for attending start to finish. It's always appreciated. You can always go back and review this video if you missed anything or if you want to have any specific questions. We're going to post this all on YouTube. So thank you, Sophias. Have a great day.
Thank
Thanks.
you. All right, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.